Hello and Happy New Year. Welcome back to Sikich Live for the year 2021. Um, Go ahead and make sure to smash that subscribe and like button here. That's the only way that you're going to know when we go live each week on Thursdays with new and exciting topics on ERP, IT managed services, security, CRM, and so much more. Now, our schedule is changing a little bit this year. We're only going to have our lives each Thursday with different topics, just like I said, around ERP, CRM, Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, and our NetSuite products. So before I bring on our returning guest, VIP guest, I should say, Debbie Altham, don't be shy in Sikich Live. That's why we come to you live each week so that you can go into the chat, ask a question about something that you want to know right now. That's why we're here. That's why we're live. So with a new year comes new budgets, new projects, and a new ERP. Have you moved to the cloud, still using a mainframe system, trying to find a partner? Don't know where to start? Well, you've come to the right place here. At Sikich, we learn and grow through new experiences, serving hundreds of clients across America to find their perfect fit ERP. So let's move forward with New Year, New ERP with Debbie Altham. Hi, Debbie.
Hey, Michael. Now, I need to ask you, did you get a new microphone for Christmas?
I did. How could you tell? I'm really, and I have my ring light in front of me too. So this is a professional production, Debbie.
We got a new ring light in our house, but I believe it is specializing in TikTok.
Well, that's important. I'll be doing the TikTok right after this. Don't worry. Excellent. Well, thanks again, Debbie, for coming back multiple times now. We really appreciate having you here on Sikich Live. But let's talk New Year, New ERP, your favorite topic, right?
Oh, it is. It's a really favorite topic. Yeah, absolutely. So what's happening in 2021 for ERP?
Well, business applications, right? They're evolving greatly over the years, of course, exponentially the past 5 years, I guess we could say. With all this exponential change in in the ERP world throughout the last decade, what do you really predict for the state of ERP? And I should say enterprise resource planning software, business applications in 2021, and what about the next decade?
So I think those are two different answers because, of course, when you think about 2021, you do wonder whether or not, unfortunately, it might have shades of 2020. So, which in my mind means that businesses if they are investing in something like ERP right now for the 2021 year, it really is generally going to be about building that resilience that you need to be able to deal with. I'm going to guess that automating, digitizing is really the focus. So making sure that you're handling, new business models. A lot of our clients and a lot of people we talk to have found that with COVID sort of endemic at the moment, that their business models have changed. They're selling a lot more on the web. They're doing a huge amount more drop ships, perhaps, than they've traditionally done. They're engaging in their customers a different way, and that is putting some strain on some old systems, right? Because all of a sudden your entire business is orientated around something new, a new way of doing things. And I think if 2020 was anything to go by, 2021 will continue to see that drive towards solutions that are handling these new business models more effectively, more efficiently, and providing that level of elasticity, flexibility in the internal processes that our clients are looking to support their business. So, that now 10 years out, heck, I've got a whole different deck on that.
Right?
Yeah.
10 years out, maybe it's industry 5.0, 6.0?
Well, I think, industry 4.0 is something that people are, we're still growing into the boots, right? We're not there. And I mean, I do a lot of work in manufacturing where manufacturers are way ahead on some things and, really not very far ahead on others. So The technologies that I see a lot of people that are talking about now are all customer front end, right? It's about providing a better customer experience, providing a better service to the customers, helping your customers go through whatever changes and challenges they've had over COVID, be it providing service using, HoloLenses, or be it providing ways that they can engage and buy from you without having that face-to-face contact. Particularly if you're selling something complex and big and expensive, you're used to having a sales rep turn up, or the sales reps are usually turning up on site with people, and that's not happening. So, we're also talking about things like this sort of communication solutions, team, right. Sharing of documents. How do you better share things across the web securely? I don't think any of that's going to go away. That's a trend that's here to stay.
And I think it's interesting, you talked a little bit during the pandemic, the huge uptick in e-commerce use, of course.
Right.
But also not just the uptick in B2C to the consumer, but in B2B e-commerce, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And again, it's because people are, so many people are working from home. They don't have their piles of paper around them. They don't have the old ways of doing things are all of a sudden different because you're sitting in your home. So I think that with the B2B e-commerce, what we're seeing there is maybe not so much EDI and that electronic transactions,
sure,
but definitely the ability to give your customers a view in or visibility in to whatever data you're serving up to them that's of interest to them, whether it be your product information, whether it be how much they owe you, whether or not there are any status of any orders they've sent you, and estimated delivery and ship dates and things like that, all the way through to expected delivery dates. So visibility right into that supply chain, going even steps back in the supply chain.
Yeah, businesses are now expecting the same type of visibility that they have on the consumer side with their business now. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you talk about resilience, and organizations this past year, businesses really had to learn a whole new type of resilience, and in 2020. And what ways do you see companies continuing to be resilient throughout 2021?
Well, I think everyone has recognized that resilience, what does that mean? What does being resilient? It means you can ride the wave, whether the wave be going down or up or sideways. And I think what that means is that people's business practices, not their business processes, their business practices, no, it doesn't matter about the technology for a start, need to be flexible. They need to be able to show some flexibility, because, for example, if you've only got one preferred supplier for a certain item, and that supplier happened to go on lockdown and they were no longer producing, I mean, that's a huge disruption, because maybe you can't make the things that you need to make because there's that one part that you can't get from that particular supplier because they are, let's say, in a different geography and not able to produce. So understanding resilience is not only about the applications you've got, but are you onboarding? Have you vetted out alternative suppliers? And have you got a mix of suppliers that you can use should one of those supply chains break down? So it's a little bit like digital transformation, right? It's just not the software, it's the business practices, it's the understanding that you might need to build a little bit of flexibility. And I read a really good thing from Gartner about, where things are going, industry analysts, right? And I quote them all the time. One of the things they said was that when you are trying to be really efficient, the processes get really defined, which makes them rigid. And things that are rigid are brittle and they break. If something underneath them moves, they break. So understanding that you are foregoing maybe a little bit of that efficiency to build in resilience and flexibility. Now, how does that translate to your software? Well, it does, because it means that you have to make sure that the business applications you're using have the ability to flex and do things differently. Can your system handle drop shipping? Because I tell you what, if it can't, it's a heck of a job manually to handle a drop ship instead of shipping, in the usual supply chain, let's say through a third-party distribution center.
Well, so I want to give a couple scenarios to you to see where we might identify with our audience here. So first scenario, budgets are locked down by, well before the 2021 date. When that date comes around, and it's, included as an expenditure for, let's say, an IT project, including business applications or ERP CRM. So January is the month the company really needs to start vetting those potential partners in software. Where do they start? I think that's such a common question that we get is I don't even know where to start. How do I figure out this big, huge world of business applications?
So I guess, these days business applications are just more than the application, right? They are a platform. They serve up pieces of functionality that are designed to be loosely integrated, loosely coupled, so that you can pull the bits together to give you exactly what you want, or as close to what you want or what you need as you possibly can get. And what we've seen progressively over the years is that what's traditional in terms of ERP now morphs into CRM, then there's marketing, and then there's all of these other peripheral business processes around. So the understanding that when you go and get a business application, let's say like an ERP, and you want to do your order transaction processing and your finance and accounting in there, and let's say your manufacturing, your planning, your MRP, by making a decision just on that, I think you leave things too much on the table, because what you're looking at now from a business application perspective is how good that application can integrate into the rest of your business environment. So if you look at your customers, you look at your vendors, you look at your products, you look at your stakeholders, and you say, that group of people that I'm serving, they're the ones I'm in the business to serve. What do I need to put together to serve them best? And that sometimes goes well beyond what the ERP traditionally has done. But you want a nice streamlined way, let's say, to service your customers. So if you're doing that, likely a customer service application is probably an important piece. There may be some, portal stuff that's a really important piece. All the way back to giving availability for products or configuring pricing and quoting on products. So I'm going to say that the first thing to do is understand that you need to be looking for a platform that, when you look at the very narrow one, I'm after a new ERP, and you put the blinkers on and you only look at the ERP, really means that you need to get at that 30,000 foot level and decide, what platform am I going to buy into? Now, generally people tend to go on one platform, but there's no reason why in cases that you may have two. Depending on how big you are, some people would even go further. But generally speaking, if you've picked the platform, you've looked at all of the things. You've not just looked at the ERP. You've looked at the business intelligence tools. You've looked at the portal tools. You've looked at the ecosystem of organizations around who've built apps that work with it and go on top of it and enhance it. So I think actually exposing yourselves to the variety of platforms available. Microsoft, for instance, we have the full ERP, CRM, field service. We have all the way through to customer service. We've got BI. That's a platform. That's what I mean. So going out and getting, let's say, demand planning software, going out and getting a BI software, if you think about it, you can build this all together. They're built to go together, these things. So again, I'd say, first take a step back and go, okay, what sort of platform do we want to buy into? Do we love this vendor? Do we really hate that vendor? Never going to buy from them. There's some companies that are like that. Mm-hmm. It's a funny place to start, but I would say that's the first place to start.
And to your point from the last question on resilience, this process also needs to be a little flexible, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's, if you want something perfect, It's
Yeah,
going,
exactly.
that last 20% to get to perfection is going to cost you some huge amounts of money.
Mm-hmm.
So that flexibility means the ability to maybe do something a little differently, maybe accept that it's never going to be 100% perfect, but it needs to be really, really, and it certainly needs to be good enough, right? So I think you have to build that, and that's where the resilience comes in, because again, remember the comment before, brittle processes, all that efficiency, what you're giving up by being exceptionally efficient to have the perfect process, you're giving up that flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Mm.
So next scenario, this company, let's just say, I'm using hypotheticals here, of course, they're on a legacy mainframe system, and they know it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money to migrate them to a brand new cloud system, shiny and new, right?
Mm-hmm.
What types of assessments, and I'm curious about Sikich specifically, do we offer, or that other partners should offer, that gives them that 30,000 foot view, complete picture of what the actual time and that capital commitment will be?
Yeah, so we've got a number of different packaged bundled services that we can bring when clients ask us that question. So what do I do? What's next? How do I prioritize? Or how do I get ready? How do I prepare? So in each parts of it, wherever you are on the journey, there's a way that we can help. I'm going to say, if you are at the point where you think you want, I'm not even going to assume anyone needs a non-cloud ERP, but you want to go to the cloud, and this is maybe the first big investment you have in the cloud. Maybe you need a readiness assessment to see how ready is your infrastructure. The interesting thing is, of course, these days with everyone working from home, and if I'm using a system sitting at home, is my infrastructure at home going to be supportive of the job that I need to do with the applications that I'm using at home, which is a little bit different than what we used to, which was, you go into your environment, what's the pipe coming in like, how stable is your internet connection, do you need to ramp that up to be able to handle the data volumes that are going to be pumping through a new piece of software. So all the way through that to taking a stand back and saying, what's important? Where's your business going to be in 10 years' time? Where is your business going to be in 5 years' time? What are your competitors doing? Where do you see there's opportunity? Where are you leaving money on the table? Where can you create new markets? How's your product mix and customer mix changing? So that's at the really front end to say, all right, and that helps. We use Sikich have adopted, there's an approach Microsoft have put out, a methodology for helping people really get some insight into that. It's called Catalyst.
Right.
We've done something very, very similar to that for a long time anyway, which is the ability to stand back and have that view. But the idea is to pull out the things that are really going to bring the biggest bang for their buck.
Yeah. So, Debbie, I want to move on here and play a little game, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
The game that we like to call here on Sikich Live, Fact or Fiction. So, the game is, I'll give you a quick prompt, and you have to say whether it's fact or fiction, and then explain a little bit about why. Does that sound okay?
I'm up for it.
Okay, here we go. First prompt here. It is easy. It's easy. So simple to implement new business applications, including ERPs and CRMs within the company itself, just by themselves.
All right. Fiction. Am I right?
I think in a way it's up to you.
Yeah, it is up to you. I still remember a project where we got to the end and the CEO said, there was one benefit you never told me about. He said, and I think that our business has got as much from that as anything. And that was the fact that we actually started talking to each other, and we stepped between the silos of our business and actually started talking to people we'd never talked to before. And the ability to build that team spirit, the camaraderie, we're all in this together, was phenomenal. And desperately want to carry that on. And this was a result of a new ERP. Would you believe it? Yeah.
So next prompt here, working with a partner is too expensive. It's better to go direct to the source of the software.
Okay, so in many cases, the source of the software is going to be more expensive than a partner, if at all available. So a lot of software developers just don't offer implementation services, or if they do, it's to Fortune 100. So if you're lucky enough to be Fortune 100 and you have lots of zeros in your budget, then that's good. But there's a number of vendors that simply don't have a partner network. Simply only go through a partner network. So you don't have a choice. What you need to realize is that partners should be adding value in the middle of that chain, right? So vendors tend to spend a bit of time focused on industry and getting something right for a particular persona, if you like. They imagine the company they're going to build for. They build for that company. Partners come in and add a layer of interpretation over the top of those out-of-the-box systems to be able to tweak it and understand how it works for you, whether you're in a micro vertical, you're having a very specific, you play in a very specific market, you're far more likely to find a partner who understands how the software is built to work best for you and the people in the kind of business that you're in. I think that's a huge value.
So in the end, you think that would probably be fiction?
Yeah.
Yeah. So next prompt here, the cloud is more secure than an on-premise installation.
Fact.
Woo. And why?
And why? Well, you know what? Your on-premise installation could be pretty secure, but you'd be having to spend many millions of dollars in keeping that security, keeping that door closed, keeping it safe, keeping it secure. You're right. The cloud might be a target, a great target for hackers and people who want to go in and steal data or destroy data or malware or all sorts of things. Our security guys could spiel them off. But the cloud providers are providing industry strength, military strength in many cases, security that there is just no way most businesses could afford to be able to put that investment in.
Right. The way I always look at it is, and I've said this before, that Microsoft has invested billions of dollars into the security of their servers, and that's something that not many companies can match.
No, that's absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely right.
So second to last one here, once your ERP implementation has started, and this kind of goes back a little bit to that flexibility we talked about, it is impossible to change scope and requirements.
That's really funny. So at Sikich, we use a what I would call an adapted agile approach, which is we get started very, very quickly. And so what we don't do is we don't spend a huge amount of time up front doing lots of discovery around how you do what you do, because all the time how you do what you do is dictated to by the systems you're using. We're more interested in why you do what you're doing and what the outcomes and outputs are for that process, which means we don't want to spend lots of time talking to you about setup. But the point is what we do is we bring a pre-configured, and that's our aim, is to bring a pre-configured version of the software that people can start using straight away. And at that point, once you've got your hands on the keys and you can start to see how it works, it's only then that you realize, that's not really going to work for me, or that will work for me. So what we try to do is separate our projects out. So we go through that first chunk and we have really informed clients, people who really know the difference. How many times I've heard people say, 12 months after they implemented, if I knew then what I know now, I would never have asked for that. So that's what we're trying to avoid, right? So we get them hands-on in the system really quickly, really early, and they're powering through that, working out whether or not it's going to work. because no one can work out whether things are going to work from a whiteboard.
So last one here for you. Over 70% of ERP implementations fail.
Oh, I've actually Googled this. What percentage of ERP implementations fail? In fact, you can Google what percentage of all software projects fail. It depends on how you define failure and success.
Sure.
So certainly, I would say that a lot of people have not found that they've got the expectations, that they've not met their expectations. Whether or not how badly they've not met those expectations might determine on how much you say it fails. There's always the ones where you spend lots and lots of money and you've actually never got it live, never got it working, put it on the shelf and move on. I mean, that to me would be a failure. But I think so many people fail, but a lot of people fail to define what success is. They also bite off more than they can chew. So that would be the other thing, is it's that, if I dare go to, how do you climb a mountain? Step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? Bite at a time. Understanding that projects that are smaller in scope, more clearly defined, are easier to deploy, and that would be one of the ways of reducing the risk of that failure, is by just taking a smaller slice of it, doing it, then going on to the next bit, then going on to the next bit. Right. And the other thing is to define what success is, because success will help determine the prioritization, how people prioritize their time. How many people say they want better data out of their system as their success criteria, and they never get around to getting better data out of their system?
Absolutely. Well, great, Debbie. Thank you so much for being on today. We are completely out of time, although I swear I can spend another 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours with you. Thanks again. Happy New Year. And thanks to everyone for joining today. We'll be back next Thursday here on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and we'll see you all then. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.